It's no secret that people are obsessed with what others think about them. And I mean really think about it. Do you spend a good amount of your time trying to make other people like you? Are you trying to please others at the expense of your own happiness? Trying to gain validation from those around you is an unconscious behavior we all do. But it's only when this need for external approval becomes the driving force behind your actions that it crosses the line from being a normal part of human nature to becoming a destructive habit. There's a great story in the Bible about a man named Gehazi. In the story, Elisha the prophet was visited by a group of Israelites who were desperate for God's help. Their crops had been destroyed, and they had nothing to eat. So Elisha told them to take some wild vegetables and use them to make soup. But one of the men looked at the vegetables and said, "If you had given me only a crust of bread and some more oil, I could have made something better." Elisha became angry and he cursed the man. "You will never have anything to do with Israel's kingly lineage." Then Gehazi, Elisha's servant, went to him and asked, "Why did you curse that man?" And Elisha replied, "Because he lied to me and said, 'Give me only a crust of bread and some more oil.' If he had been honest and said, 'Give me some of this,' he would have received his fill." The man didn't want the food that was offered to him. He wanted something more. He wanted something that was forbidden. And in doing so, he condemned himself and his future generations. But why? Why do we chase after things that are forbidden? Why do we constantly try to gain things that don't belong to us? It's because deep down inside of us, there's a voice that's convincing us that if we don't get what we want, our lives will be meaningless. This is called FOMO. And the worst thing about it is that it keeps us from achieving our goals. See, when you're busy chasing after things that don't belong to you, you're wasting your precious time, energy, and resources. And although it may not seem like it, you're paying a very real price for doing so. So here's the real cost of chasing after other people's approval. No. 1. Your self-esteem will always be unstable. When your self-esteem depends on how other people perceive you, you become a slave to their opinions. You start to think that your worthiness of love depends on whether or not other people like you. This is what happened to King Saul in the Bible. God had promised that Saul would remain king for as long as he lived, but Saul didn't believe that. He was too afraid of what other people thought about him. As a result, he blew his chance to go down in history as a great king. Because even though he did some good things during his reign, his legacy will forever be tarnished by his obsession with killing David. No, 2, you'll end up losing the people around you. When you try to be someone you're not, you end up pushing the people around you away. They stop respecting you because they don't know who you are anymore. You become a stranger to them. And that's exactly what happened to Lot in the Bible. After he survived the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, he decided to live in a city called Zoar. One day, while Lot was tending to his flocks, some shepherds from Zoar approached him and said, "Listen, we know that you're a foreigner and an outsider among us, and we also know that you practice different customs than we do. That's fine. Stay away from our women, since you're welcome to stay here as long as you like. We might seem like a free people, but we're not as free as you are. There are people living among us who would gladly force you to leave, and they're watching us right now." So Lot chose to flee to the mountains rather than wait around to see what would happen. He ended up alone, far away from everything he once knew. And if you look closely at his story, you can see that Lot became disconnected from the people around him simply because he tried to live like them. Number 3, your life will lack authenticity. When you walk around pretending to be someone you're not, you lose touch with your true identity. You start to forget who you are and what makes you unique. And instead of embracing your differences, you try to hide them. And that's exactly what happened to Israel when they entered the Promised Land. After Joshua died, a new leader named Gideon rose up to take his place. But Gideon was afraid to lead the Israelites into battle against their enemies, the Midianites. So the Lord appeared to him and said, "My power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will save you a second time." But Gideon replied, "If you're going to judge Israel and deliver it from the Midianite, then why don't you show me a sign?" The Lord was disappointed by Gideon's lack of faith. But instead of getting angry, he gave Gideon another chance to believe in him. He told him to take his 300 men and attack the Midianites at night. If they were victorious, he would call Gideon a mighty man of valor and a hero of Israel. Now, I'm not saying that Gideon was a bad leader. He did go on to defeat the Midianites and lead the Israelites to victory many times. But the point I'm trying to make is that when he became afraid and doubtful, he forgot who he was, lost sight of the fact that he was a leader, and he started to focus on his weaknesses instead of his strengths. No, 4. You'll become emotionally detached. When you live your life trying to please other people, you end up disconnecting from your emotions. You stop feeling happy, sad, angry, or any other emotion. You become a robot that just goes through the motions of life without really experiencing it. And that's exactly what happened to Joseph in the Bible. He was a young boy who was sold into slavery by his own brothers. He was falsely accused of a crime he didn't commit and thrown into prison. But despite all the bad things that happened to him, Joseph never lost hope. He believed that God had a plan for his life, and he trusted that everything would work out in the end. For example, when his brothers came to Egypt to buy food, they didn't recognize him because he had become so successful. They thought he was the governor of Egypt, and when they learned that he was the brother they had sold into slavery, they were afraid that he would get revenge. But Joseph surprised them. He forgave them and told them not to be afraid. And that's when Joseph became the prime minister of Egypt and saved his family and the entire nation of Israel from famine. So remember, brothers and sisters, when you chase after other people's approval, you pay a real price. You sacrifice your peace of mind, your relationships, your purpose, and your happiness. Instead, let's focus on pleasing God and making Him proud. Let us live our lives according to His will and trust that He will guide us every step of the way. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.